not ASMR friendly?
Pomegranates. No, it's probably the least ASMR friendly of all the fruits, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God.
I don't even know where to start.
Neither do I. I think also maybe we have to trigger warn the listeners that there's going to be a lot of different emotions, I think, in this that we're both feeling. And also I think it's like, I hope that it makes other people feel like it's okay to feel however you feel about a race experience, because it could be the best day of your life, it could be the shittest, it could be like, there's a lot. It's just a lot. I think we feel a lot.
We do feel a lot, yeah. I'm going to
And
cry
I'm
about
gonna
17
cry.
times.
Yeah, I've cried
Already
already
am.
this morning. Yeah, I cried this morning thinking about what we might talk about.
Yeah, I've just looked at my race photos. Have you seen yours?
No, I don't want to.
Fucking hell. Absolutely horrific. Oh God. Right, okay.
Okay.
What should we start from the start?
I think we should start from the start.
Start from the
So,
start. Start from the start. I'll stop crying.
yeah, I think I will say that I think we have a mixed, maybe we have a mixed bag. Maybe I should start on a really positive note by saying I'm really, 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 really proud, like insanely proud of myself and of
You
you, and
should
of
be.
I really, really feel like what we did was incredible, and of every single person that did London or Manchester, or I think there was also the Shakespeare Marathon going on the same day, and it was so hot and really, really hard. And
It
I'm just
was
so
really
impressed by
hard.
everybody who managed to just to even just keep going past like the first kilometer. Because not gonna lie, I had that feeling straight away where I was like, oh dear, it's really not the day, is it today?
Yeah, I know. I
Oh
know.
God.
We started it, and I remember thinking to you, like, having said to you the day before, I think I was saying, oh, you just have to kind of grin and bear it until about mile 5, and then it will start feeling normal. But
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I mean, fuck past self me. I mean, God, that was just not the
Fuck
right
past
advice.
self me, and sort of I totally hear it, because like I understand that if you've done a marathon before, what you want to say to people is stuff that's going to be encouraging and positive. And so I'm really conscious that we're not at the end of marathon season. And if there are people who are training that are listening to this,
Oh my God,
I
yes.
really, really don't want to make anybody feel like you've so got this. We did it. You can so do it. But everybody who says you've done the hard bit when you've done the training, I really didn't feel like that at the time. Oh God.
No, it
It
really
didn't
is the hard
feel
bit, isn't
like a
it?
victory lap, to be honest. It didn't feel like a victory lap for either of
Oh,
us. But
no.
we did the London Marathon. We fucking did the London Marathon. And I think should we start from like the night
Why don't you
before?
Yeah, and
Or
let's start from the night before, but then why don't you tell your story of how it felt to run it? Yeah,
yeah,
so
okay. Let's not start from
yeah.
the night before, to be
We
honest,
can
because
start the night before.
I
We can do
mean,
that.
what did we do? We had pasta. Oh, I
Well,
mean, before anything,
yeah.
I told you about the man, didn't I? That like so Esther and I were staying through marathon tours. We had the most incredible experience that was a real highlight of the weekend for me.
It was,
We
yeah.
rocked up to our hotel, not knowing what to expect, and Marathon Tours had kindly put us up in the Kensington Hotel,
Kensington
which
Doyle, it was called.
Kensington
Yeah,
Doyle, the
yeah.
Ken, as we
The
called it,
Ken or the Kenny D.
and
Yeah.
the Kenny D, and we just felt like I felt like Paris Hilton.
I mean, it was amazing. It was the most beautiful
In fact,
space, wasn't it?
she wouldn't actually. That was a silly person to say, because obviously, she probably
She'd be
wouldn't
staying at
stay. And
Hilton.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they were so kind to us, and they checked us in, and it was the kind of place where our bags were in the room before we were.
Yeah,
But as if by
never had that.
magic. You
Never
got
had
out the
that.
lift and there was a man going, "Miss Newman, this way."
Yes,
I couldn't
just like
believe it.
I know. I know, it was amazing, absolutely incredible. So,
It was
yeah, so that was
amazing.
really, really lovely. Felt really, really looked after, and they knew we were running the
Yeah.
marathon, so, like, there was lots of chat about that, and then on the
Yeah.
morning of, they handed us a little care package, which included plasters and a little
Plasters.
a little vitamin shot and oh, what else was it? And a little foot thing, which I haven't yet used, but I am going to, and it was just,
Oh,
really, really sweet.
I need foot things. I need to delve into my care package and check what's in there because it sounds like I might be the holy grail. But yeah, they really looked after us, didn't they? And it
Yeah.
felt I also I was so grateful to all of that and to you and
Mm,
Doug because I was the most nervous I have ever been in my life for anything. I think it's fair to say. I was
mm,
so wobbly. And I was also, I don't think that the listeners know about this because it sort of fell between episodes, but I'd had quite a nasty little tickly cough that was
mm,
threatening to turn into something a bit more horrible. And on the way down to London in the car on Friday, I was like, I'm get this is becoming ill. This isn't just like slightly annoying thing. This is like going to be an
mm,
illness. And what do I do if I wake up on the morning of the marathon and I'm ill? And I was so grateful because I feel like the fact that we were well looked after and the fact that we were then drinking lots of electrolytes that Jordan had told us to do,
mhm.
that was a savior. Drinking electrolytes like 2 days before, basically, we were
Yeah,
doing that from. And I think all of that helped me. And I woke up on the morning of the marathon and I was like, I've done it. I fought it off. I fought
yeah,
off whatever this is. And I was so pleased. It slightly returned post, but we could assume that might happen, but did not
yeah,
bother me during the marathon at all, which was the main thing. And I think that, yeah, how well we were looked after by Marathon Tours and the Ken, um,
mhm,
was, and you and Doug really, was real testament to how I ended up feeling on the day of, because lots of the nerves and worries that I'd had were really eliminated by that.
yeah,
But one other thing I was going to say about the Ken that we talked about a little bit, but I can't remember how much we talked about this because it was all a bit of a blur the whole weekend.
mm,
It had this gorgeous bar that we, before we went out for dinner, Doug and I went and had a drink, and
yeah.
he had an old fashioned that had the logo of the Kensington Doyle in the ice cube.
It looked amazing,
I
absolutely
know.
amazing.
Oh, we were so jealous, and I was having to order a zero beer and look daggers at him. But it was cool. It was such a nice experience. And the
Yeah,
guy behind the bar, uh you had already assumed. Esther texted me and said, "Are you chatting all the people behind the bar?" And then came down and went, "Oh yeah, there you are," as predicted. But I didn't intend to chat this guy up. He said, I think because I'd refused the because they tried to give us a sort of little complimentary little alcoholic tipple.
yeah.
And I said, "Oh, I'm fine. I don't know if you know, but there's this thing called the London Marathon tomorrow, and I'm going to be running it." Uh, and and so he gave me something else instead, and then it sort of triggered him then to get talking, and he was like, my friend is actually, Doug did an incredible impression of him, but I'm not going to do it because it was sort of Russian mafia, and I'm not sure
Right.
whether that's something I might get cancelled for doing. So I shouldn't
Fair enough.
really. But it was an excellent impression. And he he was talking about this friend who managed to who did marathons in 2.5 hours, and he was a sort of athlete that went, I'm going to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu within the year, and then he does it. And he was banging on about this friend and how incredible he was. And it was
Mm,
nice for a bit. And I was like, amazing. Oh, cool. Well, good luck. And I enjoy watching him tomorrow. I hope he smashes it.
mm,
Anyway, Doug, so how are you feeling? Yeah, so he's and he kept re-interrupting our, like, we were trying to sort of close off the conversation, because I'm not going to lie, it was lovely and I
mm,
love the shared enthusiasm, and there was like a general buzz around the bar when I mentioned the marathon. Everybody
mm.
then started talking about the marathon, and this woman who was sat next to Doug, who turned out to be a professional photographer, she was like, why haven't I brought my camera? This would have been perfect, the perfect weekend. And everybody did get talking about it, but this guy particularly had honed in on me and wanted to tell me about his ridiculously fast friend. And I
Oh.
and I just I couldn't. It was making me so nervous because
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't that I didn't want to talk about it. You know the feeling. You
Mm.
want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about the marathon at all, but you simultaneously cannot stop talking about it, and it's so annoying that you can't stop talking about it. So I'm sure I would have banged on about it, but I think it was just because I was then like non-consensually comparing myself, I guess, to a bloke that I don't know and I don't care
Yeah.
about really. And good for him, but is not in my league or not who I'm sort of like wanting to sort of like emulate in any way when I'm doing the marathon. And it just was making me be like, oh God, if these are the people who are doing it, then like what am I doing, sort of thing.
Yeah, I was having a similar but different experience all by myself up in my hotel room. I wasn't ready to face people while you were having your
Hmm.
drinks, and I was really tired. We'd done the expo that day and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But with I want to be careful that I'm not gonna shout out who this person is, but um, there is something about I think there's nothing that we can do to eradicate the fact that people will when we say something and people want to join in the conversation, they might throw some information at us that make us feel wobbly, and unfortunately we can't stop that from happening. That's just going to be
No,
that's life,
it's
isn't
no
it? That's
one's fault. It's
conversation.
just,
It's
yeah,
no one's
it's
fault.
what happens. Hmm.
Yeah, and what I was battling with was sort of slightly unsolicited advice that had made me wobble completely.
Hmm.
And I mean that happens a lot with marathons. You get chatting to a taxi driver who's never run a marathon, and you say that you're running a marathon, and oh my god, the advice. And so yeah, this wasn't a taxi driver, but I think, yeah, it's very difficult to
Yeah.
stay in your little cave and bat away people when they're saying, "Oh, I know someone that ran a marathon in like 40 minutes," or "I know someone that ate
Hmm.
sandwiches all the way around," or "I know someone that ran it dressed as a fairy and still did it in 25 seconds." And it's so difficult
Yeah.
not to listen to that and just think, "It's okay. It's my own race. I
I
just need to
know.
just
It's
do go for
so
it." Oh,
hard. The
yeah.
paranoia is real. And I didn't think I knew
Mm.
I thought I knew what that was until all of this. And oh my gosh, the way it all kicked in those few days before anything anybody said to me,
Mm.
I was a Googling paranoid mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But,
Oh.
then we did manage, I would say we did manage to do sort of all the right things and calm the nerves quite well actually on the night before. We went out
Mhm.
for pizza and pasta.
Yeah.
That was lovely. Not
That was really
both.
nice. No,
We
not
had
both.
pasta, Doug had pizza. Um, and then we went back to the hotel and I don't know about you, I watched an episode of the Repair Shop and
Mhm.
then went to bed, went to sleep, tried, I mean, but, laid my head down on the pillow and then had a little bit of a sleepless night. I woke up a couple of times going, "There's something I'm supposed to be doing." But, in general, actually, I slept okay the night before. What
Yeah,
about
I
you?
didn't. I didn't
No.
at all. I went back, tried to read my book. Oh, no, I played a game of Sky Joe over the phone with the kids, which was really sweet,
Mhm.
but I could feel myself buzzing with adrenaline. And I thought, right, no telly, no screen, read, read, read. So I read, turned my light off at 10:30. I think I know I got 1 hour's sleep. I
Oh
think
my
I might have
gosh.
got 2, um, but it was a very, very long, drawn out night. I made myself feel okay about it because I remembered the first time that I did the London Marathon, I had no sleep,
Mhm.
and I thought, "That's okay." And we'd even talked about it at the expo, hadn't we? We'd said, we
Yeah.
were like, we can all do hard things, and I was using that experience, and I was just thinking, right, okay, I've run a marathon on no sleep. In fact, I've run my first ever marathon on no sleep. I can run this one on very, very little sleep. It'd be fine. But it did come back to bite me on the arse. So
Mhm.
maybe move on to the next bit, and then I'll talk about how it did. But well,
Okay.
I can say before I forget, I can say what happened that I remember. So if you wear a Garmin, um, within about a mile of you running, it gives you a sort of little performance update thing. It tells you sort of what you are. And it's on a
Mhm.
scale of, I checked it out afterwards. I was like, "Oh, what is this scale?" What I'm used to it saying is, it either says 0, which means you're kind of plateauing and you're fine, or it's like a performance indicator, or you might get +1 or +2, you might get -1, -2. Mine said -5, and that
Mhm.
was before I hit the first mile marker, and it really shook me. It really shook
Yeah.
me, and that was a real kind of psychological dip. And if I'd have known actually that a lot of that indication was based on poor sleep, I think I would have been able to kind of quell it a bit more, but I didn't. I thought, "I'm badly trained. I don't know what I'm doing. I've tapered wrong. Something's wrong." So
Yeah.
every single kind of voice came and was having a go at me on my shoulders
Mm.
as I at that
Mhm.
point at 1 mile. I was like, "What the fuck was I thinking of?"
Oh,
But
Esther.
anyway,
But yeah,
morning
that
of.
yeah, morning of, I mean, not much to write home about apart from we had a nervous piece of toast.
Yeah.
I had about 5 poos, and none of
Yes,
them very
likewise.
successful.
No, you want just one really good one, don't you? Not
You
5
do. I
chapters.
had, like, an okay one, and then I decided to just keep trying, which was almost not I think that was worse. And so
Yes.
and then well, I don't know, but we're skipping ahead a little bit, I suppose, but quite a
Mm,
lot of these then ended up happening in the lovely hospitality area that we got to, wait to start the race in, and
yeah.
having sort of slightly uncontrollable diarrhea next to, like, Adele Roberts or whatever is just so embarrassing, isn't it?
It's really, really not nice, no.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so we then, like, from breakfast, we then, had a very straightforward journey to the start line, didn't we? We had some lovely conversations. There was that lovely couple with a beautiful dog.
Oh, meeting them feels like about 7 years ago.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Such a good girl, and she had a little sign around her
Yeah,
neck, didn't she? She was so
yeah.
sweet.
Oh, that was so gorgeous, and
Yeah,
do you know what, actually, what he said, did really come in useful for me later on in the day. Little did I know what I was about to
yeah.
face.
What did he say?
Naive little me. He
Mm.
said, because I made a little joke where I went, "Oh, everybody says the adrenaline really does something magic. I really hope that's true." And he
Yeah.
said, "To be honest, it's not. That isn't what happens. But and in that last 3 miles, it is, and you can allow yourself to just be pulled
Mm,
along on the adrenaline then." But he was like, "You will
mm.
need to dig deep until that point," and that's quite accurate, to be honest. So,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
So, right, we've had our poos, we've got to ourselves to the start. We're contemplating an extra thing to eat or whatever. Anyway, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Let's go through yours. Let's go through your experience.
Yeah, let's go for it. So and I'm saying that in a slightly deflated way. I do want to reassure you, because we haven't really
Mm,
spoken that much since, and
no.
everybody, that I feel so proud. But,
Good.
um it we so we got to the start, we kicked off. We said goodbye to each other quite quickly, actually, because
We
I
did,
think
actually.
yeah, you were in the zone with your
Y
podcast that you
I
were listening
was.
to. Probably
Yeah.
the women's running podcast. No, we never listened to that.
Never listened to that shit, no.
And I was trying desperately to get Taylor Swift to work on my
Oh,
phone, and it wouldn't work.
yeah.
And eventually I discovered that I had, because there were so many people at the start, top bloody tip for anybody running a
Mm,
marathon soon. There were so many people at the beginning that I should have preloaded, and I'm sure someone already gave us that tip and I ignored it completely. I should have
mm,
preloaded all my music and everything that I wanted on Spotify, like downloaded it or something, so that I could have just played it, because I had a thing in my brain that I wanted to start with Taylor Swift
yeah.
Eras Tour set list, as I'd done in the Bath half. And that had been a really good, like, it was well paced to give me the boosts where I needed it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it meant that I didn't get to do that. I eventually managed to load it up at around sort of mile 2 or something, but by
Oh
that
my
stage,
god.
I know. I was sort of like, whatever. And so my music plan, thank you to everybody who
Mm.
sent me song suggestions. Thank you to everyone who participated in that. My plan had been to listen to that for 3 hours and then to load up all of your suggestions afterwards. But because I hadn't
Mm.
pre-downloaded any of this, couldn't do it, any of it at all. So
Oh,
I just didn't really
no.
do music. I didn't do anything. Um, but it was actually, it was fine. It's so much less painful to do a race without anything in your ears than it is to do a plod along the canal
Solitary.
path.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, and it was by choice in the end for some of it because I thought I'm so worried about missing people along the route or not being able to take in some of the things like that I wanted to actually hear. Like, we'll get to it, but some of the places you run past, it's like you really want to hear what's going on.
Yeah,
So I didn't really do music in the end, but something I learned. Next time I'll
yeah,
pre-download some stuff and I'll make sure it's low volume in the background, really, so that I can
yeah.
still hear what's going on and expect to do that. But yes, I would say first 10K, I was feeling quite good. One huge perk that is completely unrelatable for most people, and so I don't want to sound like wankers for talking about it, but
Mm.
was a massive, massive joy for me and you, was that because we got to this amazing opportunity to be in the hospitality bit at the beginning, it meant we could start sort of whenever we wanted to.
It's a
Obviously,
huge perk, isn't it? I think that's the
it's
best
great.
perk of it. Yeah,
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 that
and it
is the
meant that
perk, really. It's nice to
yeah,
see Jenny Faulkner and stuff at the beginning, and there's an egg man, but are you gonna let him make you an egg before you're gonna run 26 miles? I wasn't.
absolutely hell no, no. But I mean, yeah, the yeah, the being able particularly on the day and particularly bearing in mind what the weather was doing, the chance of being able to set off about an hour earlier than we were supposed to felt like a massive blessing, didn't it? So that was yeah, it was
It
incredible.
did, it really
Sorry
did.
for
In the
what
end,
I did.
I don't think it made any difference to how horribly hot it was. I think
No.
everybody boiled whatever time of the day we all went out. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it did really help because I was also like, there are people waiting for us on the other end, and you've got to get a
Mm.
train and all of those slight feelings where you think yeah, it was really nice to be able to start a bit earlier. However,
Yeah.
one thing I will say about that is
Mm.
that, it was I felt really annoying. And they don't, I will say to like to London Marathon's credit, they don't encourage you to go out with the people who are running like 3.5 hours. They do encourage you to try and stick to your time. But obviously
Yes.
everybody goes, oh, I can go. Well, I'm just going to get it done. As you all
Yeah.
probably would. That's what you sort of think. But running with the sort of 3.5 hour pacer or whatever in front of you and a horde of
Mm.
3.5 hour paced people going past you
Yeah.
is is a little bit scary. And there was one comment, and I don't know whether it was at me. It might have been at something completely unrelated, but it got in my head that
Mm.
somebody who was a speedy person ran past me, and I heard him say to the person he was running with something like, "It's a bit early for that, isn't it?" And it might not have been to do with me, but I assumed, oh, he's talking about how slowly I'm going.
Mm.
And it kind of got in my head a little bit. And then I felt slightly like, oh, I'm not with my people, which is silly because we're all doing the same distance. But
Yeah.
I got a bit funny about that. But to be honest, not far in, you catch up with your gang, really, don't you?
You do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so it wasn't like that for too long, but it is a little bit scary having like, yeah, a stampede of people who are like nearly twice as fast as you
Yeah.
running past, and being like, right, in the end I basically just got over to the side of the road as far as I could for most of that first bit so that I wasn't in
Yeah.
anyone's way.
Yeah.
um but it was a bit scary. And then the other thing that it meant was everybody said, don't go out too fast. And I was trying so, so hard not to, but it was really
Yeah.
difficult. And when I looked at my splits, I went out too fast for the first 3 miles,
Oh, no.
which was silly. Which was really silly, and I was overconfident in my own abilities to pace myself. But the other thing is
Yeah.
I had been hoping to use Cooper or Strava to do my pacing, but I couldn't load any
Oh,
of
no,
that
you
up
couldn't.
at the beginning of the race. So I had nothing other than an old school clock to try and
Yeah.
work out how I was doing. And obviously, like, it's you can't see seconds and stuff on that. So, like, even 30 seconds makes quite a difference if you're
Oh
running a
my god,
mile
yeah.
30 seconds quicker. So I
Yeah.
was running about a minute too quickly for the first 3 miles, which was
Oh my
silly.
god.
Then I settled into my race pace for for the next few, and
Okay.
then it all went tits up.
Oh god. Okay,
So,
how?
well, I was enjoying it. I was going, this is great. There was so much support, which all the
Mm,
way through. There are no quiet bits, I've got to say. Like, there are bits where there
mm.
might be slightly more sporadic supporters,
Yes.
but, like, there are no bits where you're facing down no people,
No.
standing on the side of the road. There's always going to be people on every stretch, which was so incredible.
It is
um
incredible. Yeah.
it was really, really amazing. And so um yeah, I think I was just enjoying all of that, taking it in. The beginning bit, if I was going to have any critique, before you get to Cutty Sark, it's a bit dull, isn't it?
It's a bit dull. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
but
is.
you got to start somewhere. and
Yeah.
um and so that bit, I just sort of was like, head down, get done, and waiting for the mile markers to tick by. And I did have the opposite thing that I had at the Bath half, where I was like, oh, they're taking a long time to appear.
Ah, yeah.
And that was a bit demoralizing, because I'd had the opposite at the Bath half, where I was going, oh God, it's so nice, isn't it? On a race, they just appear. It happens so much more quickly than it does, and that
Yeah.
didn't happen. It was taking a long time for them, um, but yeah, it was all right. And then I would say from sort of, mile 7 or 8, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, yeah, this doesn't feel like the best run I've ever had. I don't feel in tip top condition. And I think that's about then when I started to slow to,
Mm.
like, quite a bit slower than I normally would run.
Yeah.
And then I basically just, the rest of it, I maintained quite a slow pace, which is fine. And I'm not going to beat myself up, but it was a bit. Oh well, I'll get to that bit. I'll get to that bit.
Mm.
So it was about, I think, so Cutty Sark, incredible. I nearly burst into tears. I
Yeah.
had to steel myself quite a bit. And that's another thing that I will say about it, is it is an amazing experience. London it's incredible. Oh my goodness. And
Mm.
running a marathon in general, it was amazing. But
Mm.
I felt a bit sad at a couple of points, because I felt like I wasn't able to experience I'm such a heart on my sleeve person, and I
Mm.
wasn't really able to experience all the emotions that I wanted to, because I anytime I would get a bit teary, or even really excited, or
Mm.
a couple of times I was like, "Wow," out loud, and that was about
Yeah.
all I could kind of muster, because I kept having to go, "No, no, back in the box, because you've got a job to do, and if you cry, you won't be able to breathe." And that's a bit
Yes.
sad in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
always think that with when people talk about running particularly big city marathons, particularly if you're, like, traveling somewhere to experience a
Yeah.
marathon or to do a marathon, and people are just going, "Oh, it's a really great kind of, like a tourism experience. It's like this amazing tour," and it's not, is it? Like,
Mm.
even when I've talked to people about, like, I remember when I did, like, Berlin half, and it's a half marathon, so it's a different thing, but still then, mostly, I was looking at the road and my feet,
Yeah.
and it's not a tourist experience running it, is it? There's plenty of
No, because
people, I
you've
think,
got
that
you've
would run
got
around and
work
not
to
see.
do.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a it's really, really fucking hard work, so I do think, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. I think that the kind of the magnitude of the experience just sort of slightly gets lost on the people that are actually in it. I think
I
for
think that's the
spectators, it's
thing.
amazing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, all the people who were spectating had the most amazing day. But
Yeah.
and so did loads of runners. And oh my goodness, I loved it. I loved it. And the moments like coming around Cutty Sark and stuff was incredible. But I sort
Yeah.
of wish I could do it all again, so that I could allow myself to feel it. I wish I'd filmed
Yeah.
it all. I'm so sorry that I'm not the kind of influencer that's going to have an amazing video.
No.
But I had to make a choice at the beginning, and I was like, am I going to try and document this? And I thought I need to prioritize every bit of energy I've got and just getting it, just
I had
running.
exactly the same. I had exactly the same. I
Hmm.
remember the first 2, I remember doing, like, really stupid shaky cam stuff, which I had, like, pieced together and put in a reel.
Hmm.
And this time I was like, I need every ounce. I need every ounce.
Yeah.
But I also do remember that first time that I went round. I still remember that first time that I went round the Cutty Sark, and I did cry. And it was quite soon after I'd done the Great North Run, because I think it was when it was, like, in the
Hmm.
autumn, wasn't it? And so the Great North Run had been in, like, September. Um, London Marathon was in October, whenever that was, 23 perhaps. And when I did that, as we went round that you corner the Cutty Sark, that they did the Great North Run shout, which is the "Oggy, Oggy, Oggy" thing. And
Yeah.
which is a really silly chant, but it felt so empowering at that point, because we all had, because it's mile 6, isn't it? We all had the breath in our bodies to, like, really roar back. And
Yeah.
I thought if you were watching that in the crowd, you'd be like, "Bloody hell, they're amazing." I just remember feeling
Yeah.
quite epic at that point.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like that this time round. Anyway, your story.
Oh.
Um
Well, I kind of I had that a little bit, which was really nice. We didn't have any
Mm.
Oggy Oggy Oggies, but the crowd was so loud, and it
Oh,
felt like they were cheering everybody on as well. Because there were a couple of moments, I suppose, where you can see people are really waiting for their friend or whatever, which is
yeah,
good, and you should. But it really felt around Cutty Sark like they were just there for the vibes, and they were like, "Every one of you is amazing," as everyone was going around, and
yeah.
that was so nice. And
Doesn't it feel like sometimes you think like did it feel to you? It felt like to me that sometimes the spectators go so wild, it's almost like they're on drugs. Like they're
yeah,
just
there were
like,
some people.
oh, like high off it.
Yeah, I felt really bad actually because there was one girl who was screaming so loudly for her friend, and I automatically, because at this point I was like starting to suffer, I put my
Mm,
finger in my ear because I was like, "Ah!" And then I felt
yeah.
really bad because I was like, "Oh no, I really don't want to discourage her. That's amazing that she's that excited." But I ran right past and she screamed in my ear, and I thought, "Not today, darling. I am a wreck, and now I can't be getting a migraine from your screams." But
Yeah,
that was amazing. And then the next bit of a blur, I think, because I was starting to find it a bit more tough.
yeah.
Um, but saw then Doug and all my family and my mum and brothers and
Hmm.
sisters-in-law and my niece and everyone were there with a big sign. The sign was genius because I don't think that I would have spotted them, but
Yes.
Ara and Amy had made a big sign that said "Go Holly Go," and then I could spot it. And one of the pod squatters has already said in the comments on my Instagram that she saw it too. So that was really nice
Oh,
because I
yeah.
think that was genius, and I managed to see them. Ara had also worn a gold crown and gold wings and had been given a gold pom pom by someone, so she was giving it her all.
Amazing.
Yeah. And that was really lovely. And when I saw my
Yeah,
mum, I just was really, really wobbly, because I could see she was like already already tears streaming, and I was like, "Oh god."
oh
Um,
no.
and then, it was, yeah, a bit quiet for a bit then, and that was quite tough because then I had a good
Yeah.
few miles before I was gonna see anybody again.
So
And
what mile
then
was that?
that I think they managed to get to mile 9 and mile 11.
Right,
Which
okay,
was
yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
then, I knew that I had Lex waiting at the sort of halfway point.
Right.
So she'd obviously tried to get to Tower Bridge, but bloody hell, she was about a mile and a half after Tower Bridge, I think, before being able to actually find somewhere to stand because it was just
Yeah.
rammed. Um, when I look back, I'm like, loved all of that. Not true. I was hating a lot of that, but
Yeah.
it was amazing. Like Tower Bridge is pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
absolutely
I think there
incredible.
was this sense of sort of panic the whole time where I was like, I'm loving this and this is incredible. And I'm going to look back at this and think this is so incredible. But you also don't really allow yourself to do any of that because you're like, I've got a long way to go. And I don't want to jinx
Yeah.
this by going, way, and then feel like a
Yeah.
mug in a couple of miles. So I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So,
That's why I sort of hate the positioning of Tower Bridge. I hate it being there. I want it to be like mile 20,
oh,
not
that would be
mile
lush, wouldn't it?
yeah, yeah. Because you go off it And it is amazing, and it's very beautiful and everything, and the crowd support's incredible, but then you have to go into no man's land, and you have to go against the flow, don't
Can
you?
we talk about, yeah, mile
It's
14?
horrid, isn't it?
It's
And it goes
really
on for
horrid. So
ages. In my memory, I thought, "Oh, it's 500 yards or something like that." My God, miles
no,
of it,
it's so
miles
long,
of
miles
seeing
of
faster runners.
yeah, miles of seeing faster runners, and I felt for both sides. Like, when I was on the mile 14 bit, I thought, "Bloody hell, this is shite." And then
Mm.
on the other side, I actually was like, "You know what, guys? It's still shite over here, and I'm sending you
Yeah.
all the best." It was just but that bit was really tough. So I saw Lex and I said, "This is really hard." And that was the first time I think I acknowledged that to myself and to anybody else. 'Cause I
Yeah.
kind of back of my mind been going, "No, no, no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. You've done all the training, it'll be fine."
Mm.
Then I was like, I'm fi I said aloud, "I'm finding it really hard." And I knew it wasn't gonna be the best run because, like, I was comparing it to Bath Half, and, like, that felt comfortable, even though there were tough bits, there always are. That felt comfortable. Like, when I started to find it tough comparatively happened at, like, mile 12 in Bath Half compared to, like, mile 7 or 8 in the marathon,
I
and I was like,
know,
"I've
I
got so
know.
much longer to go."
Yeah,
Sometimes that just happens, doesn't it? And it
yeah,
just happened. It was hot. I'd been a little bit ill. There was so much adrenaline. Sometimes it's just not the day, whatever it was.
yeah.
But, yeah, I was so grateful to see her, and um, then that was the real tough bit, wasn't it?
Mm.
Was all around, the
Canary
Canary
Wharf,
Wharf
yeah.
and all of that. Um, but my friends had been really, really kind and well placed.
Mhm.
So I saw my friend Jake, I saw my friend Silky ran to 4 different locations. I kept seeing him go, "Oh," and then waving, and then he'd sprint to another bit, and then I'd catch him again, and it was so lovely.
Oh,
Um, I was so grateful for all of them. That really buoyed me, and that
yeah.
was also around the time, I think this was because I'd fully sacked off the music, that I started to clock some pod squatters.
No
And that was a
way.
huge win, oh my goodness, and I must have looked at them like a sort of weeping willow. I don't think I was giving them much, but there were a few people who shouted. There was a woman who was standing with the pancreatic cancer charity who
Mhm,
shouted. There was a lovely runner called Holly also, who came up to me at
mm.
about mile sort of, I can't actually remember, between the
Yeah.
hellscape of 14 and 20, and she was like, "Oh, I've been tracking you on the app, and I thought that I could see that we might join up in a minute, and I've been holding on to the fact that we might be able to say hello." And I think we
Oh,
both really needed it at the time, and that was so
yeah,
lovely. So
that's
shout out to
lovely.
her, and I hope she had an amazing day. And yeah, just a couple of other people who shouted things from the sidelines and stuff, and that
Mhm.
was really, really nice. So, um
Oh.
that was lovely. I saw my best friend from school's little sister. She was there. She came out, tried to give me a banana, and I was like, "Absolutely not. I'll give you a hug instead." Um, and then it started to get, even though objectively, when I think about it, incredibly hard. Like, I was, and again, I'm really cautious that I don't want to say this to scare anybody who's doing one. Like,
Mm,
so get throughable, but like, I was really, really slow, and I was finding it a lot less, like, I just had a lot less in my legs than I'd hoped for, planned, thought I would.
yeah.
I found it a lot harder than I'd ever anticipated. But from about mile 21,
Mhm.
when we hit the Rainbow Mile or whatever it's
Rainbow Row,
called,
yeah,
Rainbow
yeah.
Road. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I saw Cheryl Hole. She was there. There was I was so excited to see all the drag queens. I wish I could have just stayed there all afternoon.
Yeah.
Uh, Absolute shout out to Run Dem Crew. That
It's great, isn't it?
Oh my
Yeah,
god, that was insane. That was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
So little bits like that, they were so much more frequent from when
Mm,
you hit sort of mile 21, and then that made me so much more joyous. And then I had Non and Will, two of my best friends from school. I had Doug, and I had a whole gang of family at the end at mile 25. I saw Lex again, which I wasn't expecting to, and I was like,
Oh.
"Ah." And she got a video of me going, "No, I can't do it," and then going, "No, I can," and going. And she was so helpful. She was so like, she was like,
Oh.
"You can bloody do it." And I just, I was buoyed by all the people, but there's a big thing that I'm not saying because I don't want to ruin
Mm.
I don't want to cut into your story. And I also don't want to make you feel anything because of the fact that this happened, because it was a complete, but there was a thing at the back of my mind the whole time where I was looking for you and I was thinking
Yeah.
about you. And so I didn't quite feel
Yeah, me too. Me
until I
too.
crossed the
Kept on
finish
looking for
line
your
and I
little white hat.
saw you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I did too. And and then, but yeah, got to that last bit. I think Doug and Ben and my family and stuff were all at mile 25, and that then was like, I remember Non was like, "A mile to go," and I was like, "Not a mile to go." And then and I, because I hadn't quite seen 25 either, so I was like, it's like a mile and a half,
Mm.
and these halves are feeling long.
Yes. Oh
And
my God,
then
yeah.
as I hit all of that bit, that's all the exciting bit, like embankment and stuff, I was like sobbing into my own sort of chest.
Oh
Oh
God.
God. And I was trying so hard to enjoy it. I won't lie.
Mm.
I don't know, did I? I look back and it's exactly like people say about giving birth. I look back and I'm like, I loved it. I know I loved it. Um, but I just was, I just was absolutely exhausted. I was so tired. And I think there had been a slight demoralizing part of me that had been beating myself up for quite a few miles at that point about my pace.
Mm.
And like, because I wasn't tracking it, I didn't really know exactly what it was. But as I was hitting the mile markers and seeing what the time was, I was like, well, this is just not anywhere what I thought I would be or what my training runs have
Yeah.
been. And so I'm just
Mhm.
going to have to accept that this is, I'm just going to have to finish it. Um, but I think the things that really helped me and the things that really allowed me to dig deep and do it was something that has never really worked for me before, which was the medal. I don't think I've ever given a shit before, really. Like, it's nice to get one, but, you're kind of like, well, that'll go in the drawer with the others. But this
Yeah.
one felt different. And I remembered when we ran the New York half, lovely Uli, who's a listener who ran with me,
Mm.
said, if it wouldn't be like worth the medal basically if you didn't have to work hard to earn it. You want to look at it and be like, and so every bit that was so hard, I just was like, that this is, it's hard, and that's, if it was easy, everyone would do it. I really
True.
tried to say that to myself over and over again, and I hope that
Yeah.
you think that too, and we'll talk about it in a bit. But
Yeah.
um I got to all of those points where it's like 376 yards to go for some reason.
It's because it's because it's 26 miles and that many yards.
Oh, I
That
see. So that was where
the
we hit
point
26
two.
miles.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, I just was like, "What? Shut up."
Yeah, random.
Yeah. And then I saw the finish, and I had a bit of an emotional moment actually with a woman who was next to me who started walking,
Mm.
and I was like, "You've got this. You can do this. You can do this." Like, this gonna make me cry. But I was like, "There it is. That we can see it. You can do it." And then we ran the last bit, and then I crossed the finish line with a
Oh.
man who was wearing nothing but a fig leaf. And my family sent me pictures of it on the coverage, which made me laugh.
Oh.
Oh, but yeah, and that was
Oh
that. And then the
god.
woman put the medal around my neck, and I was crying and
Yeah.
crying, and she went, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Surely this is not the first person you've seen do this today."
You know, everyone's fucking
Oh.
crying, aren't they?
Yeah, and
Oh
then I saw
god.
you very quickly afterwards, and I was just relieved, and then we both sobbed and sobbed and sobbed for, like, 20 minutes, basically.
We did, yeah. Couldn't quite
Yeah.
stop, could we? Yeah.
No. And then I saw my
Oh
time,
god.
and for full transparency, though I'm not gonna bang on about it, I was a little bit gutted because it was quite a way off what I had hoped, but then I had a word with myself and I went, "You've run a bloody marathon." And actually, it did really help, even though comparison is the thief of joy, sometimes comparison
Mm.
is also the giver of joy. Because looking at other people who I respect and admire, and I knew had big goals, like friends or celebrities or like people that I knew were doing it, I was like, okay, it looks like some
Yeah.
people nailed it. Jordan Foster being one of them.
Yeah, I know.
Incredible. That
Bloody
made me cry
hell.
all over again when I saw how well she'd done. But
Yeah.
a lot of people had a similar experience that sort of made me
Mm.
be like, "Okay, we
Can
all
we
had
can
to
we can we actually
readjust."
even name check the one celebrity that we were quite thrilled that we
Well, do you know
came in
what?
second?
We need to say this with a disclaimer because I've seen a bit more about it now, and I'm like, "Oh,
Oh.
we were quite pleased that we beat the one and only Joe Wicks," which, as you know, is a big deal for us on this pod.
It
But
is, yeah.
I then saw on Instagram this morning that he was doing this whole slow running thing
Oh.
because he's championing I mean, he still, that might have it was probably still very intense for him, but
Mm.
he was chatting to people along the way all about the joy of slow running and trying to
Oh.
revolutionize the idea of slow running again, because why are we all so obsessed with our times? And I had a bit of a word with myself then where I was like, come on, Holes,
Oh.
you're on the wrong side of history there for being pleased that you beat Joe Wicks. He was standing for exactly the opposite of what you were just saying. Um,
Okay. Okay, fine, fine. But we needed to get
but
I
it was a
think we
big
still
win
need
for
to
us at the time because we were
Yeah.
feeling quite miserable.
We were feeling terrible. We just need yeah, get pleasure where you can find it, frankly.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
But tell me all about you and how you were, because from mile 13 or whatever it was, I was just really, really worried about you.
Yeah, it was shit. I had a shocking day. I didn't and I hate to say it's all my own fault, but it was. And it's because I don't listen to our own advice. And the main thing, I mean, yeah, the weather, it was it was boiling.
Yeah.
But the main thing that I did wrong is changed my shoes. That's what I did wrong. And um so just before the week before the marathon, me and you went for our last run together, didn't we? We did a
Mhm.
5K, really gentle 5K along the canal path, and it was lovely. And on that day, I was wearing different shoes to what I normally wear. And it's because, right? And I think this is probably relevant advice. I've been wearing the same shoes for my whole training block. And on my last long run, which was just over 20 miles, I'd come back and my feet were killing me. They were
Yeah.
really hot, they were really sore. And I just thought, "Oh, well, clearly these trainers have had their day because I'd done a lot of miles in them. I need to find something a bit more comfy for race day." Don't think that. Please don't think that, everybody. If you've done your last long
No,
run
me
in a trainer,
too.
wear it again on the same day.
Mm.
I didn't. I wore some shoes on that 5K and then wore them again for marathon day, which were different, which felt really, really comfy. I've looked into both of these shoes. I love both of these shoes, right? So the first one was I'd done all of my training in Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, which I thoroughly recommend. And I fucked up my marathon wearing on Cloud Eclipse, which I also thoroughly recommend. But there is a difference of 2 millimeters in the drop, and the Cloud Eclipse are softer. And
Mm.
that difference on race day fucked it for me completely. So
Mhm.
it was about mile 6. I wasn't enjoying everything. I wasn't enjoying everything, but I was really hoping that I'd start feeling a bit better. So just before Cutty Sark, I remember swearing around Cutty Sark actually. I remember going, "Oh fuck." And
Mm.
it's because I could feel a cramp in my left calf. But I kept on trying to talk myself around it. And I was drinking electrolytes, and I was like, just drink the electrolytes, just have the salts. It's just a cramp. It's just a cramp. It will go, it will pass, it will pass. And for another 5 miles, it felt very similar. It was staying the same. And sometimes it was ever so slightly going a little bit, and sometimes it was coming back. And I just thought, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And then by about mile 10, 10 and a half, I thought, no, it's not going. And I then started looking for medical tents because I thought I need someone to give it a massage. And at that point, I just saw someone. There was a woman and thanks to her so much. It was so sweet. I demanded attention from a complete rando. I ran past a woman who was holding out some jelly babies, but she was wearing a sort of Harriers t-shirt or something. And I ran up to her and I went, "You look like a runner." And she said, "I am." And I said,
Oh,
"Great. Any chance you could massage the back of my calf for me a little bit?" Oh, I'm going to really try not to cry.
no, it's
Anyway,
fine. Don't worry. Let what you need to out. Safe space. Everyone loves you.
thanks. Thank you. I'll try not to pause the recording. I might do a little bit on if I can't talk. Anyway, so bless her, she gave my calf a bit of a massage. And I thanked her and I went off and there was no difference. So at mile 11, there was a medical tent and I went to it. And there was a lovely woman there who gave me a couple of paracetamol. She gave me an ice pack and she gave me a bit of a stronger massage, which I shouldn't have had. Um, and I went on my merry way. And within literally 2 steps, I was like, I can't run on it. I can't run on it. It's gone. And it was just that calf tearing pain. I mean, I think
Oh,
now, a few days later, it wasn't a tear. It's just a
good.
strain. Um, but it was the sort of pain where I mean, I tried so many times to run, and I just couldn't. I just wouldn't let me. So I just walked from mile 11 to the end, and it was just devastating, absolutely devastating. Um, oh God, oh, you're gonna have to
Esther, that is
fill.
so no, that's okay. I was just gonna say that I uh I I know that it might fall on completely deaf ears because you are allowed to feel however you want to feel about it. Like it's nothing that anybody says needs to change how you feel. But it does make me sad to think of how negatively you feel about yourself for that, because I just cannot imagine anything more strong and more amazing than having the determination to see it through to the end, despite the fact that you were in such pain. And that we're not talking like middle of a canal path, there's no other option here. Like you had the option every every tube station you passed, every
Yeah.
St John's ambulance person you saw, like that you could have DNF'd. And that's not to say that anyone who did, like sometimes that's how it goes, but I really, really think that you should, that's what I was talking about with the medal earlier, that like you should look at that and you should see that as worth its weight in 1,000 people who had the best run of their lives that day, or whose people, set off and went, oh, it's a great day for it. Like the more shit you have to wade through, I think the more deserving you are of whole. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. Everyone's deserving, but like to me, really, if I'm being honest, like that weddle that medal weighs a lot more, I think. If
Oh,
you've
yeah.
if you've the harder you've had to work for it and the more you've had to battle, and you've got like you know that you are an incredibly capable person who has a handful of medals that show that she can run a marathon in a very respectable time. But I don't think that you've ever done anything in a race that has been that incredibly brave and strong. And I hope that at some point, even if right now it's like, fuck off, I hope that at some point you can look at it and go, yeah, that was the worst one, but holy shit, did
Yeah.
I do everything that I could have done to deserve that medal at the end of it. Like I couldn't believe it when I rounded the corner and I saw you and you had it and you were wearing it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, she must have, because all I could see, you had messaged me saying that you'd pulled a muscle, and I was really
Mm.
worried. And then I actually saw on the Pod Squad Discord a couple of messages coming through. I couldn't read them properly, but I could see them coming through, and someone saying, Hol's getting close to Esther, like maybe she'll see her and she'll be able
Yeah.
to help her along or something. And
Mm.
then I was looking out for you and going, how can I help? What can I do? Tiny little part of the back of my mind that's like, oh, maybe I'll just go and find her and we'll both just go home.
Yeah.
So I probably wouldn't have been any help, because I would have gone, is this the sign we should both just stop now? But I think it, I just had the whole time in the back of my head, I was like, I've yeah, something horrible has happened, and I was so worried, and I thought she's got the train home. She's DNF'd and she's gone home, and I'm not even going to get to see her to say
Mm.
well done and to talk about it. And the relief I felt when I saw you and you were there and you had the medal on, I was so proud of you. I'm really not just saying that. I was so proud of you that it made me burst into floods of tears, because I couldn't believe that you had had the strength to do that for more than half, like knowing how difficult it is, and not trying to scare anybody again who's doing one. Like, it's fine, it's manageable, and you've got this. But oh my God, it's a really, really long way. And everybody who's
Yeah.
like, you'll be out, oh, it's fine. No, it isn't.
Yeah.
It's a really long way, and it's an incredible
Yeah.
achievement for everybody who's done it. And
Yeah.
I just can't, like, imagine how tough that was. And yeah, like, running it is hard, but running means that you're going to get there quicker and allows you to sort of zone out. Like, walking, you are so vulnerable to the demons, and you have no way of distracting yourself, and it must have just been hell. It must have just
It
been
was
hell.
awful. It was
Yeah.
awful. I've actually, I've bought my race photos, even though I wasn't going to. I've bought them because I am gonna stick a couple on social media, because I kept on seeing other pictures of other people. Like yesterday and today, I've seen loads of pictures of people, particularly running across Tower Bridge, because you get loads and loads and loads of shots running across Tower Bridge, and I've seen
Oh
lots and lots
God.
and lots of people leaping across, and honestly, fucking picture of me going across Tower Bridge, because obviously that was the worst. That was the worst, almost the worst bit. That and the finish were the worst bits for me.
Yeah.
And as I was walking across Tower Bridge, unable to even break into a trot for the photographer, I just couldn't do anything at all. I just wept for about 2 miles until about mile 13. Trying not to, but I couldn't not. And
Mhm.
then one thing happened which gave me the thing that gave me determination was other people, but the one person that gave me the determination, I'm gonna have to contact her about this actually, was Sally Orange. And
Mhm.
she walked past me at some point, and I can't remember when now, but she walked past me at some point, and it was in that kind of awful zone, probably around Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
Um, and she was wearing a big boob. Normally, Sally Orange dresses as fruit, or she dresses as something to highlight mental health. But Sally Orange was diagnosed with breast cancer about 3
Oh
weeks
my
ago.
goodness, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
Oh.
so she had decided to highlight breast cancer research, right? And that's what she was doing. And I also know subsequently that she was also battling a bit of a leg injury. So she was mostly power walking with a bit of running. Anyway, bearing in mind Sally Orange has a military background, she marched past me, right? And I saw her, I spotted her completely. I didn't say hello because I was in the mood to say hello to no one. I didn't see, like you were talking about seeing your friends and stuff. I didn't see anyone. I think I heard my name once, but I was like, I can't
Hmm.
look. I can't look. So I saw this recognizable person to me go past, and I saw she marched, and I thought, right, if I can't run, I'm fucking power walking. And so at about that point, 2 or 3 miles after I'd first started walking, I then really tried to push my walking pace, and and I completely marched to the finish. And I'm pleased I did that because I know it's weird, like running
Mm.
pace and walking pace can be completely identical, can't it? So I
Oh
did
my
find
God,
myself
I had that at about mile 25 where I was plodding and I was so proud of myself that I'd kept running the whole way. And then I
yeah,
realized I was neck and neck with a man who looked to me to be walking quite slowly. I was like, what was the
yeah.
point of any of this?
It was
God.
interesting, wasn't it? Yeah, I there was definitely it's
Ugh.
very grounding that, I was walking along, I was overtaken by walkers, I was overtaken by runners, but also I overtook those people and
Yeah.
and overtook them quite often, people that would walk, run. When
Yeah.
people are doing
Yeah.
the walk run, with the walk, obviously they're preserving energy. I wasn't preserving energy, so they were going much slower. So we would end
Yeah.
up, doing that thing of me being in front, them being in front, blah blah blah. So yeah, so I did that, and jail strategy, there wasn't one because I was like, well, I don't deserve it. um, and
Oh,
what was great. I think the bit that I have to commend the London Marathon for the things that it did on the day because of the heat, and yes, the showers, but the things I really liked was the ice, the cups of ice. As a walker, I
yeah.
could take advantage of that. So I was getting cups of ice, and my hands had swollen up. I had massive sausage fingers. So my circulation was just, and my body response to the heat was like, what the fuck? So I was
Yeah.
clutching the ice. I was letting the ice melt in my hands, and I was putting it down the back of my t-shirt, and I was sucking on it and stuff like that. And I thought
I wanted to suck on it. I should have
that's
done
great.
that, but I got too embarrassed because I was like, if and this isn't to make you feel embarrassed, this is me kicking myself
Mm.
that I should have just done it. But I had a moment where I was like, I've grabbed some and I thought, I want to put this in my mouth. But then I thought, what if someone thinks that's gross? And so I didn't. And I just sort of held it for a bit and then let it go. And
Oh, no,
I
no.
watched it and
Yeah.
went, why did I do that? I wish that I just,
Yeah, it was lovely.
yeah.
It was nice, but then I don't know if I would have done it if I was running because I'd be worried about swallowing it and, anyway. But it was, yeah, so I did that. And then, yeah, I was really, really upset coming to the finish, and I had a very, very lovely woman put the medal over my neck who was like, "Well done, you've done amazingly." And I was like, "No, I fucking
Mm,
haven't. No, I haven't." And I went round the back, and that was so bizarre. So, like, going around the corner, and I was in tears and I couldn't really speak. And I'd got my bag, and I phoned you because I assumed you were in the tent.
mhm.
And that was the weirdest bit of serendipity, wasn't it? That I phoned you just after you crossed the finish line.
Yeah.
It
And
was
then
and you
you
said,
were,
"I'm just getting my medal." And I was like, "What? What? What?" I couldn't believe it. And so
yeah.
within and I thought you would have gone off. I thought, "I've taken so long, maybe the dot isn't working, blah, blah, blah. You're probably in Green Park somewhere." I just didn't know where you
No,
were,
I
and
was
you were
still
there.
plodding along, but we were
But
so lucky that, yeah, that we both
yeah, so
found each other.
and at a moment where we really needed
Apparently,
each
we
other
were
as well.
right next to each other for the last few miles.
Yeah,
Like,
we
you
would have
must have
been.
been a minute ahead, basically, and I just
Yeah.
wouldn't, yeah,
I think there's literally 2 minutes between our time. We were
really.
right there. We were right
Yeah.
there.
I wish we'd found each other.
So do I. But we did.
Yeah.
We did, didn't
But
we?
we did at the end, and that was what mattered. Yeah.
And we just sobbed in front of Stephen Mangan, I think, in the end, didn't we?
And actually, he was like, "Well done." Yeah.
Oh god. It's fucking surreal, isn't it, doing that sort of stuff? But it was,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm so pleased I found you at the end, but yeah, I feel absolutely miserable because of it.
Mhm.
I've still got, like, a calf, like, it's still there. I haven't been to a physio yet. I can't even pick up the phone. Really weirdly,
Mm.
it's Tuesday that we're recording this, and I just don't even wanna face it particularly. My I don't know about you. What hurts? What hurts today?
My mum was asking me that this morning, and I think
Mm.
most things. I've got quite a blistered, um, right foot.
Oh,
It's not
no.
too bad. I've got, like, when you get, like, little blisters under your toes? I've
Yeah.
got a bit of
Oh
that going
god.
on, which is meaning I'm
Mm.
walking like a sort of weird golem because I'm compensating with my big toe and sort of
Yeah.
stretching it out like a weird Bigfoot. Um, and then last night last night was weird actually when I was in bed, like my muscles were hurting, like I wasn't even using them. and that was a bit grim. Though today I feel better, but it's just when I use them, so kind of up and down the stairs and stuff.
Yeah.
But quads, calves, I was very worried about a similar thing happening because my calves were on fire like I've not experienced before during that.
Yeah.
Like it did feel a little bit touch and go, and I'm so glad I made it over the finish line because it didn't feel like my sort of shin splinty pain I've been kind of getting, where they feel heavy and a bit sore, and
Mm.
it felt like fire, like it was hot. It was like burn in the back of my
Yeah.
calves to a point that I was like, yeah, I was a bit worried, but they were okay. They are really, really tired.
Mm.
And they're the things that are probably the most sore. Quads are sore, back and shoulders are sore, like stiff.
Yeah. Weirdly,
But
my middle back, like just like the band around your core, my middle back
yes,
is
me
killing me.
too. Which is
It's
probably where
really
our
odd.
cores went, "Ugh," and then our
Yeah.
backs had to take over. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, actually looking at my race photos, it's really interesting. I mean, I look about 105 in them, so I'm
Oh.
gonna have to really steel myself when I put them up because, yeah, I
Mhm.
look hideous. Um, but what is in because you get so many, there's like 165 photos. Like if you buy them, there are so many photographs of you, which
Really?
means yeah,
Okay.
it's not like 12
God.
photos, which means you will get like 10 photos in a row of you taking about 3 steps. So you get every bad bit as well as every good bit. And it means you can actually see your form in pictorial kind
Oh,
of
that's probably quite useful for me. Yeah.
interesting. Mine is buggered. I absolutely like one shoulder up, one shoulder down. I look like, I don't know, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Just really, really bad. So
Okay. Well, I
clearly
will
need
look
to work
exactly
on
the
that.
same. Yeah.
Anyway, so
I'm really nervous. Where did they come from, the pictures?
there was an email on Monday which said, "Do you want to register for your photographs?" Which I didn't, and then I did today. So it's a little thing that you can click on, and then it takes you through
Okay.
to a thing, and they cost 35 quid. So
Okay.
I've paid £35 in order to normalise a shit day out at the races. Oh,
Okay.
God.
I will do the same because I must. Um,
Yeah.
because it's important to have a record of it, whether you look pretty or not, isn't it? But
Yeah.
I think I'm really proud that you did that. And I think that's really good because I think this is going to be one that is like, I don't know. I know, I don't know. I'm trying not to sound too sort of wanky with anything because you are really allowed to feel however you feel about it. But like, I can't remember her name. She's called Hannah something, and she's great. Who's a slow runner that I follow,
Mm,
and she put up a really raw video of herself doing the London Marathon from last year, and she's like crying and hating it all.
mm.
And now she was saying it with the retrospective, going, that changed my life, and it made me want to do more and do them and enjoy them more and do them better.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, that's not going to be quite the same experience for you because you have done them and enjoyed them more and done them brilliantly. But it
Mm.
might be one of those ones that you look back and go, that was a life changing day, even though on the day and after the day it was shite. It
Yeah.
might be one of those days that you go, I'm glad I had that for some reasons because it's changed me in this way, or I don't know. Maybe all of
Yeah,
this
I
is
do
not very
yeah.
useful to hear right now. Maybe we talk about
No.
this next week or something, because I think you should just be allowed to be like, "I feel a bit crap today," and if that's how you want to
Yeah.
feel, you should, you know?
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. I
But I
mean,
do want you
I
to have a bit of pride, a bit more than you've got at the moment, please, because
no, yeah, I don't I'm really, really proud of the training. I am really proud of the
yeah.
training, and because it definitely was, I think, the most, um, dedicated that I've been, and bearing in mind
Mm.
I'm someone that tends to dedicate
Be
themselves to things.
dedicated, yeah.
But I do feel like I really, really tried hard because I knew that the more I trained, weirdly, the easier it would be, right? So that's and I know I worked really hard with the training. I know that I worked hard with the strength training. I know that, yeah, I did all the good things, it felt like. So I am very proud of the last 4 or 5 months, and I'm desperately proud of you, and I want you to be I know you're proud of yourself, but I want you to be so much more proud of yourself because it's your first ever marathon and you did it and you got round, and
Mm.
it's incredible. It's such a huge achievement this time last year. This time 6 months ago, like, this was not going to be on your agenda, and you've done it.
No,
I just think it's
no.
absolutely incredible, and frankly, don't wanna sound like an old fucking maiden aunt, but when I was your age, I was getting pissed and smoking fags, and I was not running what you're doing. I There's no way, you know,
Mm.
it's incredible what you've done.
Thank
So,
you. Well, I honestly would never, ever, and could never have done it without you. As if I'd be here if it wasn't for you.
oh my god, thank
So
God for you, though, for that, particularly when I saw you at the end, because I couldn't go and hug Stephen Mangan and have a cry, could I? So
no. We were so lucky to find each other. I think
yeah,
it was a real day of like, yeah, having to do the tough stuff, and I think having each other there made it a little bit less so.
yeah,
Like, it would have been a lot more horrible if we didn't have each other, and I have got to say that, like, as well, the support that we've had from Cooper and from Jordan
mm,
and from the pod squad in general, like, watching everybody's messages come through and, like, um, even just, like, at the chat that we had with Jordan at the expo from the day before, which you'll have all
yeah,
heard, we're still scurrying behind the scenes to get out to you,
mhm,
that, like, it is, like, just, I don't know, seeing people there and having this community is just incredible. I think I'm just a bit, I can't really form sentences anymore.
no, I know exactly what you mean, though, and even, like, yesterday or the day before yesterday, I put up a picture, the only picture I took during the marathon, which was of Tower Bridge. Actually, I might put it up again, but with the picture of me on Tower Bridge. But anyway, I put up that one picture and just said, "No, it's shit." And actually the messages I've had, on Instagram have been universally positive and lovely,
Mhm.
and I need to lean into them and maybe read them again a little bit.
Read them
Um,
again, read them again.
yeah,
I've been reading
yeah.
mine and it's really, 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 really lovely, and I hope that we can all carry on doing that for each other because it makes it so much easier, like, because honestly, the amount of runners that get it, like, this is your safe
Mm,
space, and there are a lot of people in this community who will have been through what you went through on Sunday and who know how tough it is. Like, fuck the outside voices that might be like, not that anyone is saying that, they're just impressed that you ran a marathon, but anything that's making you go, oh, is that person going to think that didn't count because, or that you've allowed to become even just like your own narrative by listening to some of that stuff that people say. Everybody in this space has totally understands what it's like to feel disappointed and for something to happen that's outside of your control, really, that
yeah,
throws a whole spanner in the works, and none of them think that you're less of a runner, that you're less impressive, that you're less of a marathoner than you are. You're more so
yeah.
of one
Thank you.
because you've had a new hurdle and you've overcome it and you still had the medal at the end of it, which to me is just wild.
Yeah. Do you know, I tell you what, also, I went for a little walk this morning before I started work, which is one of my new things, and just to
Mhm.
make sure that I was, making my body move and stuff. And I ran into Steph, lovely Steph, who does my boot camp.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm going to shout out Steph. Her company is called Get With the Program, and it's based in Bath, and she does a lovely boot camp on Saturday mornings that I go to. Anyway, I saw her walking her delicious dogs this morning, and she'd already messaged to see how I'd done, and I was just feeling sorry for myself. And I said to her what I think I'd said to someone else, which was, "I just feel like it's such a waste of 5 months of training. I feel like
Yeah,
I've
I
thrown I
understand that.
you know?"
Mhm.
And she said, "You have not wasted your training. You've still got all of that fitness. So don't feel like you've wasted it. Just go on and carry on
Yeah.
and, use it to do something else. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's a
Mhm.
good point. I
That's
haven't.
so true. Our bodies don't know what the day that we're training for is. They just know that we're getting lovely cardio fitness, our muscles are stronger than ever, and that we're feeling good and looking after ourselves. And that's
Yeah.
a really good point. Like, because I felt a little bit the same, where like I just felt I was trying not to care, and I really, really am just so, so proud that I've done my first marathon. But yeah, looking at the times that I was logging in my training and then having to put my pace in for the final race was like, okay, a little bit when I did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and I think actually, yeah, it's a really I teetered into that a little bit, I suppose. I mean, for a bit where I was kind of like, what was the point of all of that? Like, you know, was that even any better than I could have run a marathon sort of 2 months ago or something?
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't. You're completely right. It doesn't negate any of the fitness, and I need to remember that, like, yeah, this is just the beginning. And that
It
doesn't mean that we
is.
have to carry on and keep doing more and more bonkers things.
No, no,
If you've
it
done a
doesn't.
marathon and you're knackered, chill out. But, and I'm going to for ages, but, like, it started a journey of, like, what else we can achieve. The thing that's made me cry the most, actually, that I cried about last night was,
Yeah.
well, actually, no, that's not true. Everything has made me cry every second of every day since we crossed the finish line. But, uh, it was Elliot Kipchoge was asked about, you might have seen this, it's been, like, doing the rounds on Insta, about
Mm,
what his advice would be for people who are slower runners and who might feel disappointed with times or whatever.
mm,
And he said, doing a marathon is like, yeah, whether you're walk running it, whether you're running it really, really slowly, like whether you're walking it, whatever it is that you're doing, it's not about time at all. It's about getting to that finish line and going, oh my gosh, I did that impossible thing. And then
mm,
applying that to everything else in your life and going, well, you know, I'm a problem solver. I've just done that incredible thing that like most people would go, no way I can do that. I'm not even going to start that.
yeah,
And I've worked my way through it, and I've achieved the goal that I set out to do, and I've hit the finish line of this incredibly tough feat. Now I can go away and apply that to like my work, my family, my relationships, my how I feel about myself. And I think that really hit me where I thought, oh yeah, it's not just about that. I'm not a professional athlete. I'm just a gal. And I wanted to do something that I knew would be very, very difficult for me to do. And I
yeah,
did it. And like I
yeah,
feel
you bloody
really,
did.
really good about myself. And I think all of us should feel exactly the same, whether regardless of time, regardless of even if we really, really didn't enjoy any of it at all. Like it's about backing yourself and going, no, I can do that. And you did it. You got the medal. And oh, I don't know. I'm a bit of a bag of emotions. I think we both are, aren't we?
Yes, I
And
think we are. I think we are, and it feels like, yeah, it's come down Tuesday, isn't it? It's like, well,
mm,
not that I was feeling high yesterday, but, yeah, it's gonna be let's reconvene next podcast. Let's see where we are then and see.
mhm.
I'm not I must admit I am already looking at different things I can do because don't feel that I achieved anything at the weekend.
Not
I need
true. Uh-uh. But okay.
I feel like I need to have something else, but I need to fix
Well,
myself
it
first.
don't see it, well, see it however you'd like to, but I would try and reframe it as like if you want to do something else to put to the test all that fitness that you earned by doing this really tough training, and that you want to go out and have a better day because the day that it was supposed to be didn't really work out that way, then go for it. I feel a bit similar. As soon as I stupidly signed up to do Hackney Half in a few weeks,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm not sure about it. I'm still gonna see how my recovery goes, but I had immediately halfway through the marathon gone, "Well, can't wait to pull out of that." But now I'm kind
Yeah,
of
you
having
said
the
it to
opposite where I'm like,
like, the second thing you said
as
to me, wasn't
soon
it?
as
Yeah.
we cross the finish line, yeah. But then I think actually the important thing to remember is that like it's about how you feel on the day, really, for most of us, not
Yeah.
necessarily about what your time is. And so if you didn't enjoy it to the full potential that you wanted to, because you train so that it's not horrid. And if it's still
Yeah.
horrid, then why wouldn't you go and do something else that might be a bit nicer? Because some days are just a bit horrid and there's nothing we can do about it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But that being said, London, you put us through the ringer, babes. Um, but you
Yeah.
were amazing, and I think we will remember that day for a very long time for different reasons all
Yes.
round. And yeah, I just want to say I'm so proud of everybody who has ever done a marathon or even considered one. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to everybody who helped me during this journey believe
Mm.
that I could do it, because it's hilarious really when I think back to my previous self a bit. And this, like, my mum said it to me this morning actually, where she was like, I don't think you need to rush off to do the next thing, but she was like, just watching the journey that you've been on just with your like well-being, like she's
Yeah.
like, you're just like, you're you're balanced and happy and well, and that's been a lot to do with having the structure and stuff of this training. And yeah, I want to do all of you proud and keep it going. And I think, yeah, we should both be proud of ourselves for everything we did leading up to that day,
Yeah.
for
Okay, so
sure.
look, I'm gonna end this by asking you 2 questions.
Mhm.
Ready? First one,
Mm.
would you ever do it again?
In Well, obviously, within those last few miles, I was, well, no, from like mile 10, I was like, I'm never doing this again. Why am I doing this? It's taken me 2 days to be like, maybe.
Okay, second question, bearing that in mind, when are you next going for a run?
Oh, well, have you seen this? So, the Cooper
Mhm.
I don't know if other running apps do this, but obviously there aren't any others if you ask us. Um, I was revealed this amazing plan when I'd finished my London Marathon plan. Have you had it?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I have,
So,
and I've not actually opened it.
oh, it's joyous. So Cooper delivers you a recovery plan as soon as you finished your goal. And mine looks like, this is not massively conducive to doing the Hackney half. So that's why I'm going to see how I feel.
Okay.
But it basically involves resting for the rest of this week, which just looks stunning to me right now, and not going for another run until next Monday, which is an easy 20 minutes. So
Oh, nice.
buzzing, buzzing for that.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do you reckon? When are you next gonna go?
Um, I don't know because it completely depends on my calf, but
Yes,
I
of
have
course. An excellent
decided
point.
I've booked in I haven't been to the gym for about 3 or 4 weeks. So Pure Gym are beginning to send me some sort of slightly anxious emails. "Where have you been?" So
Mhm.
I've booked into a lift session, next week, and I think I'm gonna go this week and go on the bike and just do a chill gym session. Go on the
Okay, be
bike,
very
make sure I'm
careful, look after yourself.
I will. No running, no treadmill, no nothing like that. Just, a bit of kettlebell action, that's all.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. Well, good luck, and I hope, you go to a physio and get all that you desire from it.
Oh, thank you. I am gonna go
I
right
really hope
away.
that it's okay. Yeah.